No one understands mob behavior, unfortunately, better than former Evergreen College biology professor Bret Weinstein. In May of 2017, he refused an order to leave his campus for a day because of his skin color, and immediately the mob set out to destroy him.
You said people shouldn't be allowed to speak or not on the basis of their skin color, which seems like a foundational belief of the left, and one that I agree with strongly. And for that, they physically threatened you and are trying to get you fired. This is
yes,
unbelievable.
they are absolutely trying to get me fired, and they believe that my words in my email are transparently racist. And I think we're caught quite off guard when people who were not at Evergreen read my letter and couldn't find any racism in it.
It all looks like a preview now. For weeks, the mob harassed and threatened the professor. Faculty denounced him. Campus police said they could not protect him or his family, and instead urged him to stay off campus entirely. Eventually, he resigned. Now the mobs that once seemed limited to places like Evergreen dominate our country. Bret Weinstein is now a visiting fellow at Princeton. He joins us today. Professor, thanks so much for coming on. I've thought of you since all of this started, and I should say at the outset, you weren't a conservative last I talked to you. I doubt you are now. But you were one of the people who saw this most clearly earliest. So what's your reaction to watching it happen to millions of others?
Well, I wish we had gotten to it earlier, Tucker. You're right. This is the same phenomenon that we've seen on college campuses, maybe most dramatically at Evergreen. I warned Congress when they had me testify that this was going to spill out into every other facet of civilization, and that appears to be what's happening. But I do think we are maybe missing the deeper part of the story. People are obviously frustrated and angry, and they've spilled out into the street, but the reason that they have done that has to do with political corruption in both of our major parties, which has, to a large extent, frozen the working population out of the prosperity that they have generated. So it's not surprising to see them protesting, but what is surprising is that that protest has been hijacked by a fringe ideology from the corner of the academy, a fringe ideology in which almost no reasonable person could possibly believe, and yet it's wielding tremendous power, as we are seeing in every facet of our lives.
You make such a deep point that I want to play night after night, which is the problems that people are angry about are mostly economic problems and problems of political corruption, but they've been reframed as racial problems. Has that reframing been intentional, do you think?
I think two things have happened. One, this fringe ideology has discovered that it can hijack that anger. And then we are seeing, on the Democratic side, we are seeing powerful political forces embrace this ideology for cynical reasons, which is amplifying it. And those cynical reasons basically have to do with the fact that if Americans were angry at the right thing, they would be going after political corruption. And if we're angry at each other because we imagine that we are guilty of prejudice, then we won't do that. So the key question is, how can we get leadership at the top that addresses the issue of corruption at its root? And if I might, I have unveiled a plan to do that, and I'd like to run you through it briefly.
Please do.
So the plan is called Unity 2020, and it involves we the people drafting two people, one from center left and one from center right, who have three characteristics. They need to be courageous, they need to be capable, and they need to be patriots. They would join together and they would agree to govern as a team. They would discuss every decision, and only when they couldn't reach agreement or when a decision had to be made quickly would the president rule. After 4 years, the team would reverse and the president would run as vice president, and this would continue until one of them was ineligible.
Boy, changing the system of government. It seems to me like we're going to change the system of government no matter what we do, and that might be a better way to do it. I'll need to think about that. But I appreciate your bravery and your clarity, and I hope you'll come back, because I'd love to know what ordinary people can do in the face of a moment like this. I wish we had more time. Professor, thank you so much.
Thank you.